It was a funny story, but it's okay. So I think I was in grade 4 or grade 3, right? And then a guy in our class wrote me a letter telling me he likes me.
Wow.
I was offended. I was like, I'm going to tell my dad. I take that letter to my dad, and he did nothing. To me, I felt like this guy is supposed to protect me.
Okay.
And he did nothing. Like, I was like, good. And here I am saying to this guy, you will see my dad. And
Hello, I'm Marilyn.
And I'm Caroline. Welcome to the Safe Lounge.
So today we have a very special guest, and this happens to be our very first guest on the Safe Lounge. Woohoo! Give it up for Nathaniel. I'll let him introduce himself by just telling us his name, not like it's not like a job interview or anything like that.
The full profile.
I would want to give the full profile, but since you're not offering me a job, I will save that for my job interview. Thank you so much for having me, guys. My name is Nathaniel, and I'm so happy to be on the show today. And looking forward to today's interesting subject.
Do people call you Nate?
Well, some do, especially the ladies. But please don't call me Nate.
You probably didn't watch it, but did you watch Gossip Girl?
Gossip Girl, I think that part skipped me. What happened?
Okay, no, there was a guy called Nathaniel, and girls called him Nate. So that's why I asked. Anyway,
okay.
We'll kick off with some icebreaker questions. And the first question that I want to ask you is if you were to pick 3 people, dead or alive, to have dinner with, who would you pick?
3 random people?
Yeah, 3 people. All over. Dead or alive.
Okay. I think I'll pick my wife first for the purpose of...
You're just being political right now. I wanted you to say that, but anyway, okay.
Yes.
Yes, your wife.
For the purpose of my safety, I'll pick my wife first.
You still want to go home after this, right?
Of course, I want to go home. And after that, I would pick my mom and my brother.
Oh, you're such a family person. Like no celebrity, no role model. Okay, maybe those people are your role models, but anyway. And the next question, if you had to pick a theme song for your life right now, what would it be?
Wow, that's a difficult one, a tricky question. Theme song for, is it a song that's already out or something? Just
out,
a line.
Like a song that's already out that you would pick to define where you are right now in your life.
That's a random thing to say. A song that's already out. Like, are you planning to release a song?
No, I can. I
was like, okay,
or do you want
anyway,
to maybe write a song right now?
Is the musician in
no,
him?
I think what's in the season right now is a song that was released last year by the name Gore. Since we're rounding up the year, we had so many targets and everything, and we're just rounding up the year. Yeah, she doesn't know it. Please.
No, she knows it. I made her listen to it recently, actually. So I think she now knows it, or at least she has an idea. The one with the different rappers.
That one.
Yes.
It's that time of the year.
Oh, okay.
So yes,
makes sense.
Okay.
Makes sense.
And then the last one is, what is one topic that people shy away from that you think should be discussed more openly?
Well, the first thing that came into my mind is family.
Family.
You think
yes.
people don't talk about families?
No, we don't have the necessary conversations that we should be having as families. So, I recently graduated from youth, and there is one thing that they never taught us is what is it to be married, or why do you need to be married? What is family, and how are you supposed to navigate that? So I think it's a topic where people assume because you're in a family you should know what's happening, but it's a topic that should be brought to the table.
Kara, you can now take us over to what we're talking about
But I think
today.
that's actually an interesting topic to talk about here on the episode. But we're not going to talk about it today. Today we are talking about an interesting thing.
Yes, an issue on
if you listen to psychology things, or it's just been on social media a lot. We're going to talk about daddy issues and how they affect us in our relationships.
Yeah, and I don't know if you watched the first episode, but then we were talking about what made us want to start the Safe Lounge, and it started from this topic that we're discussing today. So I'm a bit excited because it's actually what birthed the whole Safe Lounge. So daddy issues, here we come, finally. Finally.
And also trying to figure out if there is a difference in how daddy issues affect females and males.
Hence
the guests. Well, I think we are both affected by daddy issues, and we'd want to discuss more on that and try to also educate the men out there, because as men we tend to have a very hard shell. Realizing and identifying that you have daddy issues is a very difficult thing.
With the fear of being getting some backlash, but then I don't think most men even know that they have daddy issues.
For sure. For sure.
It's something that
people naturally associate daddy issues with
females. Yes.
Which is quite interesting. Anyway,
defining
what exactly is daddy issues, or what are daddy issues. Interestingly, it's not a psychological term.
Okay.
It's just a cultural term that we have.
I was today years old when I realized that it's actually not a psychological term. I really thought it was, because it makes more sense. Anyway.
Okay.
So basically, it's just a term that we use when we are trying to say a person has issues that relate to problems that might have developed because of their relationship with their father. Okay. So probably if the father was abusive, if the father wasn't available emotionally or didn't provide the way they were supposed, like if they just weren't a father figure to the person, it's more likely that you could have behavioral issues that could then affect the relationships that you have, not just intimate relationships or romantic relationships, but just how you relate to people and how you view the world, your worldview. Okay. It's affected by that, and your attachment to your father. Yeah.
Right. So we'll start with you, actually. For you, what do daddy issues look like? Oh, no. Before we go there, what was your relationship with your dad like?
I don't know. I feel like I've been put on the spot.
Please take the spotlight, please.
You just defined it for us. So we now want to know, what was your relationship? What would you say your relationship?
Okay, it's like Nyasha said, if you watched our first episode, it's not a secret. I have daddy issues. Now, my relationship with my dad. Hey, this disclaimer, this episode might get very emotional.
Mhm.
But I wasn't close to my dad.
Mhm.
He was there physically, but emotionally he wasn't. To me, he wasn't available. So like we never sat down to have intimate talks, or to talk about the things that affected me, or what, just, or even have normal conversations. In fact, I was afraid of him. Like
Mhm.
the mom, and he had a tendency, he wouldn't shout at people, but his voice had a tendency to just rise. And whenever his voice
Goes up.
shot up a
Mhm.
bit, the way my heart would just start beating. Like I was scared of him.
Mhm.
And I think it comes from a certain incident that happened when I was very young. But yeah, we didn't have like a strong relationship. Yeah.
Okay.
And how did
Okay.
it look like for you?
So for me, I lost my dad when I was 3. So I don't remember what it was like before that. But after that, of course, it's the absence. I did have father figures
Right.
that were there, but with my biological father, absent. He was not there.
Mm. And for you, Mr. Nathaniel?
Well, I sort of share the same story with Nyasha. I lost my father at a very, very early stage. And I did not have a father figure up to, I think, my mid-20s.
By early stage, how young were you?
I think I was 6.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
I was
in
3.
other words, he was not there. I have fragments of what I remember of him. And I don't think that was enough to sort of build who I wanted or to consider myself as having a father. It's just a memory of, okay, what would have happened in this situation. So, yeah, I think that is my relationship with my father.
I'm sorry you lost your dad.
No, that's okay.
Sorry.
That's okay.
But it's interesting what you said. You just said something. You only then had someone to play, even a father figure or someone that you would, father figure in your 20s.
Yes. Wow. And it's actually a very interesting story. I totally respect this man. He has been there as a spiritual leader in my life since I think for more than 14 years. And one day he just took me and said, "You're now a man. You're now growing to a man, but I still feel like you have a gap in between, and I want to show you what your father is."
Wow.
I think I'm going to start crying.
We need more people like this. We were talking about it when we watched The Forge.
Yes.
Yes.
I told you. I had this.
Oh my God.
So it was a very interesting time, and it's a very interesting relationship where, up to the mid-20s, you then now want to relate to a father. And it was a difficult thing.
Yeah, it must have been difficult. I wanted to ask, especially in the beginning, how did it feel to have now someone who is like...
No, before you even go there, when he said that, how did that feel?
Yeah.
To be honest, it felt like he wants to take control of my life.
Right.
Yeah. That authoritative figure.
It felt like he wants to take control. And up until I understood it, like what he was trying to do and what he was doing, it felt like, okay, so I'm just giving up my freedom.
So was there like a period of you wanting, because there's a need, right, that you have for a father.
See,
but then there's also this bit where you like, it was a
that's
struggle.
that's the funny thing, that when I was growing up,
Mm.
up to the age where I was introduced to a man who's a father, I did not feel the need. I did not understand the gap, that, okay, do I need a father? No.
Yeah, I think that happens, especially when you lose a father at a very young age, because
Mhm.
you've grown in an environment where
This is
you-
what you know.
exactly
Yes.
that you don't know anything different.
Mm.
So
Maybe
yeah,
you see it from other families, but then in your household,
Mm.
it's what you know. You don't know it to be any different. So it's a bit. Yeah,
you
it
don't
must
you
have
don't
been hard.
realize the difference or the
Yes.
gap, because you are used to a certain way, and from when you're still 6, you almost don't like your parents.
Yeah, because they're just telling you what to do, what not to do. Why did you do
Because
this?
why did you
Yeah.
do this? And sometimes you remember him beating you, and then when you do something wrong, you run and hide,
Yeah.
so that when he comes back,
Especially for boys.
you're
it's
already
even
asleep.
worse. Yeah.
So that's the picture that you remember of a man called a father. So when that is taken away, you think, I'm okay.
Mhm.
I can make my own decisions.
So
No.
now he's coming in and he's like, I want to father you.
My question is more on, because I know you guys agree on this, that this is the way that you don't know any better, because you're used to this.
Mhm.
But like, when you're growing up and people are talking about their dads and their experiences with their fathers, or maybe at school, when your mom shows up, or for a guy,
Mhm.
somebody who would teach you sports or whatever, was there not a void for you in that? Or even for you, Nyasha, you can answer also there.
For me, it's then once you're in that situation, right? The mom kind of takes up both
Okay.
Yes.
roles. And because whenever they say, I know in class they're going to say, go and give this to your parents, right? But in your head, it's parent.
Mm.
It's not like when you think about the family setup that you have, the person who's in authority or your guardian is your mother. So like in my case, it was just, it's my mom. Even if it's consultation, others are coming with their dads and their moms. For me, it's like my mom is there, and that's apparent to me. It's not like I view or I had experienced a world where there were both of them. So I got to understand what it feels like. And then when I don't have it, I would feel some type of way.
What about when other people are talking about their fathers?
It was only in grade 4. For me, it was only in grade 4 that I started feeling like, maybe. I started kind of understanding what other people's dads do for them.
Mm.
But I quickly then changed it to be like, but still I have what you have. So
Okay. And
it doesn't make any
And
difference.
for me, I think a conversation where someone else is talking about their father dials down to what they are really talking about.
Okay.
Do I have that or not?
Yes, exactly.
Because you can say, okay, my dad bought me a phone.
Mm.
I have it.
My mom also bought me a phone.
Okay.
And
So-
also, I think where we differ between me and Nathaniel, what I was saying, that for me, I always had the father figure. I always had my uncles also in the picture, and they were never not there.
Mm.
They were never absent. So I think it also contributed subconsciously that whenever I would think of when someone is talking about their dad, I would quickly switch to think of my uncle, and then I'm like, yeah, he does that. Although we didn't stay together, but for me, it also contributed in the sense that, like if I don't know, like if you're going to play football, if you want to be taught how to ride a bicycle, my uncle will do that over the holidays or something like that. Like it was something that for me, maybe it's the best of both worlds.
Mm.
Yeah.
But before we go to your experience of the person who then said, I want to be a father to you.
Mm-hmm.
But when you were growing up, did you feel the need to act like the father in the house?
Well, I think yes. There is a part where my mother was a very soft person.
Okay.
Is a very soft person. I
Okay.
mean. So there's a time where things had to be done differently,
Mm-hmm.
and I had to make sure it's done differently.
Okay.
So it also built into my own personality,
Mm.
what I carried forward from my mother, and we'll discuss more on that one.
Mm.
But the need to become the man of the house was definitely there, and it had to be filled.
So do
But
you...
from what template? I had to make it up.
Interesting that you say that, and you are a guy.
Mm-hmm.
But don't the...
For me, it was almost the same thing, but then it was people telling me that I need to take care of my mom. So from a very young age, I took up that role of being the person that takes care of my mom because of the absence of a dad. Like, people just say it, like, you take care of your mom, you take care of your mom. I don't know, maybe you also grew up hearing that.
No, I didn't grow up hearing that,
Yeah.
because my dad was there.
Yeah.
Okay.
But then again, I kind of get it from the perspective that I'm the firstborn.
Mm-hmm.
So, and my mom wasn't there a lot. So I then had to kind of parent my siblings.
Okay.
Kind of.
Mm-hmm.
But I think my question is more to you.
Okay.
Like, did you ever feel like the shoes were too big for you? Like the responsibility is too much? One, being a firstborn.
Mm-hmm.
Two, you are a son who also then has to fill in the shoes of being the father figure in the home. Did you ever feel like this is now, the responsibility is quite a lot?
To be honest, I had nothing to compare to. So in terms of responsibility, there wasn't much laid on me in terms of financial responsibility or trying to resolve any conflicts in the house or things like that. So it wasn't that heavy in terms of well, now that I have a template on where to look and things like that. The role of a father in the house was basically taken up by my mom. And she was the provider, anything like that. Anything that needed some strength or some muscle or a hoarse voice, then that was me.
Well, that was me. Even anything they needed some strength and some muscle.
No, that's a different thing altogether. So things that needed, that strength and some muscle, that's where, it was passed on to me. Or she has trouble with someone. You know what happens when people know that there's no male or men in the house, service providers, things like that, they tend to, slack and take advantage of that situation.
Yeah.
So, at some point you overexercise that. I had to overexercise that. And I think it also spills at some point where my own mother sees the man of the house in me. And that is a shoe that I had to fill.
Yeah.
So that's the situation. But I think we would want to dwell more on what does that make of a man or a person, or what are the effects and how does it affect a man going out.
So how you were operating right now, going on to your story of having this person who then came in and said, I want to be the father figure in your life. How was the transition? We're talking about how was it difficult and how it changed.
Because the daddy issues were already there at this point, that he's coming into your life.
So, yeah, I think it was a willing buyer, willing seller situation.
Okay.
where there are people who grow up in a well structured family and everything is fine, but they turn out to be something else.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was a willing buyer, willing seller situation where at first, yes, there's some resistance, but I was just curious to know what he's talking about that I don't have.
Okay.
And what is it that is in a family setup that I need to know.
Okay. All right.
So it was slow and gradual. I used to, when he started being the man of the house, I used to want to find the door and go back home because he lives in a different place. My home is a different place.
Okay.
So when he started exercising the authority of a father in the house, I would be thinking, hey, how can I run away?
I need to go back home.
I need to go back home
to my house where
to my
I'm the
house,
man of
where
the
I'm
house.
the man of the house.
Yeah.
So with that experience, I learned to ease into that environment where, there's a father of the house, there's a structure in the home. Things happen a bit different from what I was used to. Yeah, I think it turned out okay. Although, the residues will always be there where you feel like
I think we skipped over this because I was getting emotional.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, that speaks volumes. That a person comes and says, I want to be a father figure to you. And actually taking that responsibility and pulling that through. That in itself is just, I think more people need to, I wish more people would have the burden to father people like that. Not just fathers, but even mothers in the society. Because back in the day, it would be, it takes a village
To raise a child.
Yeah. But now it's an individualistic society. People are just doing what they do. Nobody checks up on you. Nobody pulls you to the side and says, no, we don't do things this way. But to find somebody who is willing, especially for man, because
What have we done?
No, because a lot relies on man. You are the head of the home.
Mm-hmm.
That means you set the tone of the house. A lot of people are looking up to you. How the children turn out, the reason we're having issues in the world is a lot of people have daddy issues. And if we just fix that one, I feel,
Yeah, so what happens is that if you don't have the knowledge of what a family structure should be like, or if you're not exposed to that, you would have difficulty in navigating such relationships.
Yeah.
And if you grow up in the case where it was just me and my mother and her sisters, so it was all women. My mother is the first child and I am the firstborn. So I'm surrounded by ladies, and you sort of grow into that personality, or it's more like you're inclined
you tap into your
you tap
feminine
into
energy.
your I don't want to use that word. But there are certain things that you're supposed to do as a man. You're supposed to be the protector of the house. You're supposed to be taking risk. You're supposed to, stand up for the family.
Yeah.
When you don't have something like that or where to look up to,
you don't know
how to navigate that. Yeah. You have problems. Even in relationships, you get clingy because that's more feminine.
Yeah. But you know what? It's interesting that he is saying this, right? Because the masculinity in me had to come out.
All right.
So that's where I would be like, I'm independent. I can do anything on my own. I can, you get it? Like, it's the opposite of that, but I don't know where it comes from. because the role model that I have is feminine.
No, I, I, I would like to propose to you
Okay.
that the role model that you have, right, had to fill in both shoes, right? So to you, what you think might be feminine could be the combination of both. Because
and then
that's
it
what you
shows
saw
up now in what
growing
I
up.
do. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. For you,
For me, what?
are you more on the in terms of femininity and masculinity? What has it done to you?
I think I'm a combination of both.
Because there always has to be a balance, right? For you to be a balanced human being, there has to be has to be that.
Which side are you more
sure.
inclined
But
to?
which side are you more inclined to?
I will say this. It's situational.
But then,
It's,
okay,
no,
when
no,
you
let me explain.
when you're in a relationship,
Let me explain.
do you want the guy
I
to be your
said-
protector
I
or no?
said- let me explain.
Because I think you're running away from it.
No, I'm not running away. I want to explain.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a firstborn, right? And then
Okay.
I have daddy issues, right?
Ah.
So when naturally I want because I have had to do so much for people, I really just want to be soft and to be taken care of, right? The problem now is when I don't feel safe, that part is going to come out because nobody was there to protect me.
So you
I've
default
always
settings.
had,
Mm.
I had there's a story, there's a thing that happened when I was growing up where,
That's an interesting one.
where it was a funny story, but it's okay. So I think I was in grade 4 or grade 3, right? And then a guy in our class wrote me a letter telling me he likes me.
Wow.
I was offended. I was like, I'm going to tell my dad. I take that letter to my dad. And he did nothing to me. I felt like this guy is supposed to protect me.
Okay.
And he did nothing. Like, I was like, good. And
Why?
here I have said to
Yeah.
this guy, you will see my dad. And the guy does nothing. So essentially you have, maybe he didn't know how to
You had
react.
to step in.
But essentially you are
Protect
telling
yourself.
me,
Yeah.
you cannot protect me.
You're on
So
your
I
own.
am on my own. I have to protect
Mm,
myself.
mm,
And then now you put in the layer of being the firstborn, right? I'm
No,
used
but,
to taking
but before
care of
you
people.
go,
Yeah.
you leave this, what happened to that kid?
What did you do?
What did you do?
I went and lied. I said,
The dad said it's coming.
my dad said it's coming.
Okay.
He will come for you.
Okay.
That's what I did.
Oh no.
But that then built a foundation where if I feel this guy cannot, in fact, I don't even like guys who cannot, where if I have a relationship, I cannot rely on you.
Yeah.
Because then you're forcing, it will naturally come out that, independent part of me, that part that feels I have to protect myself.
Yeah. But
Okay,
that's where
So the default setting is
Nobody is there for me. I will protect myself.
okay.
But the moment I get somebody
She
I shame, I become soft.
But then that's the thing now. For me, that God, that war, it never really goes down.
Never. Even when a person shows you that they're consistently there for you.
There's that thing that I might need to step up. At some point in time, I just need to step up. Like I might need to to be there for myself. I might need to stand up for myself.
That's the independent part.
Mm-hmm. That's my major issue, right? But then it also comes. Interesting that you said you're also a firstborn. For me, maybe it was because, well, I was raised as an only child, and I am my mother's only child anyway. So it's that. Maybe that's where. Else. So it's a combination now of being an only child and also having to step up and fill in some of the shoes that my dad was supposed to fill, whatever that is or whatever that looks like. It made me very independent.
I was watching somebody who was saying the importance of being covered when it comes to females, being covered by a male figure, and how if you are covered, the good parts of you are going to come out. But also the parts.
I've seen this thing on social media where this lady was saying that, I want my husband to beat me because that's the kind of love that I think. He's too soft. So in a situation like that,
if you feel that's the kind
version of things.
So
Sorry? I prefer the softer version.
So it's kind of a willing buyer, willing seller situation where you have to take the risk and give that person a chance and also
take the risk to do
understand.
What? Huh? Take the risk to do what? To hit you?
No, not to hit you. To be there for you. You're saying that if there is a person who presents themselves as a man, or are you looking for, one question, are you looking for a husband or a father?
It becomes
because
both.
It's a bit tricky where you want your husband to fill in the shoes of your father.
It becomes both if you have daddy issues.
What are some of the toxic traits that when you look at, you're like, okay, this comes from, like, what are some of the daddy issues that show up regularly in your life?
How they show up.
That have shown up.
I think we've already spoken about them, some of them, right?
Yes.
This one gets clingy.
No, I didn't say that. I said that.
It's okay.
I said it's a character trait that you borrow from, who raised you.
Yeah.
So I am not clingy. To be honest, I'm not clingy. But yeah, it's something that you have to constantly remind yourself that this is wrong. It's always there, but
another one for you?
Oh, sorry, I forgot the question.
Things
toxic
traits or behavioral issues, as you put it.
Not behavioral issues. I think we already spoke about the other one of becoming too independent. Sometimes, yes. I'm also a perfectionist.
Explain that one.
A perfectionist,
No, not like what a perfectionist is, but then why do you link being a perfectionist to being part of the daddy issues that you have?
The one thing that came from my data issues was I was constantly looking for affirmation from him and not getting it. So I think in my mind, I felt like if I can overperform and make sure everything that I do is perfect, then he will finally validate me.
Okay.
So we were talking about how there are elders in our church, the fathers. They are like father figures to us.
Yeah.
One sent me a message. I'm getting emotional. One sent me a message saying, I sat down and watched all of your episodes. That in itself, it spoke to me because my dad would never have done that for me. So I am constantly looking whether I want, like I do it consciously or not. I am constantly looking for affirmation and
You want
validation.
to please him. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's
For me, trust.
Yeah.
you don't trust easily.
If I say trust, it might be incorrect. I'll start with, okay, trust is there, then fear of rejection. And how this shows up, especially in my relationships, is like the fear of even expressing to someone that you love them. What we have been discussing over the past 2 weeks, why I struggle to tell people that I love them. It comes from that. It's, in as much as it's death, it still feels like it's rejection.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Even though it wasn't in his control, it still feels like my father rejected me. And therefore, if I put myself, or if I like give myself entirely to someone, or be it friends, be it relatives, everyone, it's like, if I love you, you might reject me. And that rejection, it's very difficult, because there are people, I think I also mentioned this before, that there are people who told me that they love me, and they would openly say, I love you, and I love them back, but
You cannot say it.
You can't let that get down.
yeah.
And I think to expand on that, in my experience, my loss has taught me that there are things that you cannot control. And in that sense, always protect yourself. So I don't build attachments along the way. And when those attachments break, I have an experience, I have a template. I know there's nothing I can do about it.
So we move on.
So I move on.
Yeah.
And it's easy for you to move on because you haven't built attachments. But
Yes.
then how do your relationships look like if you're not building attachments? It's almost like you are inside a wall and you.
No. I do have attachments, but I think I'm always waiting for that day when that ends.
Oh, guys, you guys.
I give
I
give
both of
everything.
you a hug.
No, don't hug us because we don't want that.
Thank you. You know, I'm always saying this. I am always saying this. Like,
that.
too much.
No, so
Yeah.
so it's something that, it's always on a default mode that I should be having something, but I don't have it, and I was okay with that. And now that if something I have is lost, I still have to be okay with that. Because at some point there's nothing I can do about it. So my element of grief is more like, oh, it's done. There's nothing I can do.
We move on to the next one. And also, even what you were saying, that's why most of my relationships that work, it's the other person who puts more effort. Because
no. People need to heal. We need to heal. You can't be putting people on the spot like that they have to put in more effort.
No, but then
we need to heal.
Of course I'm healing. Like, I'm getting better, right? But then before, the friendships and the relationships that have lasted, right? They really did. Like, they really did put in more effort than the ordinary person would in order for the relationship to work. Because for me, the moment I see you're starting to drift, I'm also going to try and protect myself. And in doing that, it means I'm not even reaching out anymore. So if you are that person who's also not going to put effort, that's how the relationships end. That's how the friendships end, because I am doing that in trying to protect myself.
I think we need to continue this on to the next episode, because there's a lot that we have not spoken about.
Yeah, that's right.
There's a lot.
But then I think what would be interesting as we go to the next episode is also talking about just in general how we are in touch with our emotions as males and females.
Even how our relationships, right? We're speaking about how this attachment with our parents, with our fathers specifically, impact us, how we feel about things, how we view people, and how we relate to them. So how do your feelings show up, and how do you show them in relationships?
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's been interesting. It was quite short, and we'll be back.
Man, there's a lot to talk about.
There's a lot to talk about.
Thank you, guys.
Anyway, don't forget to like, share, subscribe.